are making will eventually constrain the options available to the United States to play a decisive role in developments in Africa in a manner that supports its own interests as well as the priorities of African countries. The United States must act strategically and swiftly to adjust its approach to a changing continent.
86 Ghanaians have been deported from the United States of America under President Trump's administration so far. They were arrested at different states for various immigration issues.
And now, the former president of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, has also added his voice to issues concerning relationship between Africa and that of US, where according to him, he has bemoaned that 2 years into the administration of US President Donald Trump, there hasn't been any substantive senior officer or a substantive Secretary of State in Africa to strengthen the relationship between African countries and the United States. According to him, if President Trump is walking the talk like he promised, saying America first, then the relationship between the US and other countries, especially Africa, won't be as good as it used to be.
Almost 2 years into his administration, no substantive senior officer dealing with African affairs, and no substantive Secretary of State for Africa. That's a position that has always been filled fairly quickly, and whoever is appointed begins that, role of making the relationship as close as possible. And like you yourself said, I mean, very few high-level visits, and the anticlimax of Secretary of State Tillerson being fired when he was airborne somewhere in Africa didn't go down very well with a lot of us. But aside from that, the danger is US is losing its leadership and relationship, not only with Africa, but with much of the world. US has been the leading world power, and most of the world has looked up to the US in times of crisis. That appears to be changing. President Trump, when he was inaugurated, said America first. And I guess that's what he is living up to. But what you do is you abdicate soft power, and there's no price or value you can put on that soft power. If you're going to be methodical and transactionally dealing with your relationships with the rest of the world, then you lose the value of that soft power that everybody has had, always looking to America when there's been, issues to deal with.
And that is former President of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, giving his take on what exactly make of the relationship between African countries and the US since the US President Donald Trump took office. Now, away from that, onto other issues, where founder of All People's Congress, APC, Dr. Hassan Ayariga, has established that he is willing to sponsor investigative journalist Anas Aremia Anas to do more of his investigative works. Speaking exclusively to GNTV, he argued that he sees no reason why Honorable Kennedy Agyapong should fight Anas, who is exposing corrupt state officials in Ghana. According to Dr. Ayariga, if such things keep happening, Anas will be demotivated and left with no edge to fight corruption in the country ever again.
Member of Parliament for Asin Central, Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, threatened to expose investigative journalist Anas Aremia Anas. Honorable Agyapong, who has expressed his discontent with how Anas conducts his investigations, described Anas as a corrupt journalist who sets up people with the aim to destroy their reputation. In the latest development, a retired Ghanaian-born U.S. military officer, Mr. Kweku Intim Chumesi, has backed calls to investigate alleged fraudulent acquisition of wealth by ace investigative journalist Anas Aremia Anas, as claimed by the Honorable Kennedy Agyapong. According to the NPP Ejiso constituency's second vice chairman, the security agencies should not look over the issues raised by the lawmaker and must be interested to investigate them to ensure fairness.
You can start with something small, your own discussion. Then, when you get the contract, big contracts, we can go back and give them more money. Then we take over the whole country.
The investigative piece has caused both negative and positive reactions from people all over. In an interaction with founder of the All People's Congress APC, Dr. Hassan Ayariga established that if people should we keep hitting Anas with negative comments, he might end up demoralized and not conduct any other investigative work again.
I want to ask Kennedy Agyapong just one question. The fight against Anas today, is it his personal fight, or is he doing it on behalf of the MPP? This I want to know, because I don't see reasons in Kennedy Agyapong fighting Anas, who is trying to expose corruption in its highest order. Because if we do not allow Anas, Ghanaians will lose hope and confidence in Anas Aremiao Anas.
He established that he is willing to sponsor him to embark on more investigative works if the need be.
I am not corrupt, and I'm willing, and I'm ready even to sponsor him to do more.
Ace investigative journalist Anas Aremiao Anas has also filed the defamation suit against Honorable Kennedy Agyapong for some defamatory comments. Even though the documentary largely covers bribery and corruption in football, Honorable Kennedy Agyapong's name and that of leading members of the governing New Patriotic Party were mentioned by former Football Association President Kwesi Nyantakyi in a manner that was not complimentary.
So fallout from the expose premiere by Anas Aremiao Anas, who is an investigative journalist. Now on to other issues where the National Identification Authority NIA had to call off the registration of members of the legislature for the Ghana card scheduled for Monday, June 11, 2018 because the MP failed to show up. Information later gathered from the leadership of the House indicates that Chief Executive Officer of the NIA is to brief the House on Tuesday, after which the registration exercise will commence. The minority has, however, maintained its stance to boycott the exercise.
Even though an area was set up in the House to register lawmakers, no MP turned up for the exercise. Many suspect the absence of MPs is because they do not sit on Mondays. The minority members have already announced they will boycott the exercise. The Chief Executive Officer of the NIA is, however, expected to brief Parliament on the rollout plan tomorrow, that's Tuesday. Some members of the minority who passed by maintain their stance not to take part in the registration exercise.
We all love to have Ghana ID. No doubt about it. Whether it is the MPP, it is the NDC, it is the CPP, everybody wants to be proud of Ghana. So, and also, why do we need the Ghana ID? Why do we need the Ghana card? We want to know the total number of Ghanaians. We want to have data on Ghanaians. And it is another way in the future that we can use it to correct all this menace, social menace and corruption. With this data, if it goes through and we work it properly, even thieves and other things and pedophiles can be located. And I believe that the constituents sent me here to represent them, to voice, to advocate for them, and therefore, I will go there with my voter ID to register. And they say they will not register me with their voter ID card. Why will I waste my time to go there?
Indeed, the minority has, given notice of a boycott, that we are not going to participate in the exercise for the simple reason that, one, we have requested on several occasions, about 3 times, to have a discussion with the CEO to come and explain to us the basis for the funding and other issues as well, and he has turned all of these costs down. That is one. 2, we don't understand the basis for the registration. We support it. It was indeed the NDC government that started the process, and so NDC government and the NDC as a party will always support the National Identification Authority. So we expect this government, not because it was part of their campaign promise, but because it's a commitment. It's something that is required for appropriate exactly to do.
A member of leadership reacted to some issues raised by the minority for which they have planned to boycott the exercise.
In the first place, that they have to hurry up and come back to the House, because if you have issues and the one who is supposed to provide you with the answers, you are running away from the person, how then do you get the answers? One, they are talking about the card, that they think that since the authority is not taking voters register, and for that matter, they have a problem with it. Yes, it is a genuine concern. Tomorrow, if they come and ask the CEO, he will be able to tell them why we are not taking the voters register, the voters ID card. In any case, we all know the challenges of our voters register. We all know that foreigners have infiltrated into this voters register. We all hear electoral commissioners themselves admitting that minors are on this particular register.
The National Democratic Congress minority in Parliament had earlier declared a boycott of the registration exercise. A statement issued by the caucus leader, Haruna Idrisu, said they are unable to take part in the process due to several challenges, including the limitation of the registration to only persons with birth certificates and passports.
And so the issue of a national identification card is still lingering as to what exactly is going to be done, if the minority in Parliament are going to stay with it and do it, or are going to keep up with what they are planning to do to boycott it. Our parliamentary correspondent, Leslie McCarthy, will be giving us more details on the one. And now, still staying with issues here this morning, where the Ministry of Health has thrown a word of caution to health facilities who constantly turn away patients in critical conditions under the pretext of no beds to put immediate halt to the practice. I'll be giving more details of that particular story. But until then, let's go back into Parliament, where the first Deputy Majority Whip in Parliament, Honorable Matthew Nyindam, has rubbished an assertion made by ex-President John Dramani Mahama that the NPP government lied its way into power. The former president was said to have made the allusion at the end of the party's unity walk held at Aflao in the Volta region.
If elections are held today, John Mahama will lose miserably. Even the first one is even better. Yes, I agree with him when we say we are struggling. There are challenges, because if you inherit an economy like the way Mahama left, if you are not the Nanado type, you can never turn things around. And for that matter, he can continue to talk with his unity walk, but I can tell you that, look, even though people think that the one village, one dam is not working, it is working as I speak to you. People are on the ground there drilling the dams. Yes, people are talking about one district, one factory. That has not started. That is very true. Nanado talk about free secondary school education. It is working. Nanado talk about restoring teachers training allowances, nursing training colleges allowances. All these things have been restored. We're talking about at least managing our economy so that at least the confidence from the investors can be boosted. I'm telling you, if you look at the economic indicators today, they are very sound. Are you getting me? You see, these are things that people will expect a government that is too young, like Nanado's government, to be doing. So you let him talk about we not performing, but I'm telling you, we have a 4-year mandate, and the way we have started, if we continue by 2020, we will know who has lied his way through power and the one who has not performed and has lost. I am very proud of the president. Things are not, I can't say excellent. No, there are challenges. Obviously, people are complaining about roads, which is a very key sector in this country. People are complaining about potable water, very key. People still have issues with the health insurance scheme and all those things. But I'm telling you that gradually, we are making progress. And when we hit the road sector, to work, Ghanaians will know that we've never lied our way through power. Nanado will never do that.
And the Ministry of Health has thrown a word of caution to health facilities who constantly turn away patients in critical conditions under the pretext of no beds to put immediate halt to that. According to the Public Relations Officer of the Health Ministry, Robert Kujo, who beat about the bush as to what punitive measures the ministry is meting out to health facilities who hold the no bed syndrome mantra, he acknowledged that it is a public health safety hazard which needs urgent attention.
A 70-year-old man reportedly died in his car at the Lekma Hospital in Accra after 7 hospitals turned him away over claims that there were no beds. The late Prince Anthony Opoku Champon was the CEO of Printhony Printing Press in Adabraka, a suburb of Accra. His company is reported to be the suppliers of stationery for C&J Medical Hospital, also in Adabraka, where he was first turned away. Various hospitals have over the years been compelled to turn away patients who throng the facilities for medical care due to a limited number of beds at various health facilities. Hospital beds in Ghana was reported at 0.9 in 2011, according to the World Bank collection of development indicators compiled from officially recognized sources. The issue of attitudes is a more complex one, and unless a system of sanctions is put in place to deter people from acting negligently, things will not change. Speaking to the Public Relations Officer for the Ministry of Health, Robert Kujo regretted the occurrence, noting that this should not be happening in Ghana in 2018.
In this modern world, we are about 61-year-old since we gained independence from our colonial masters. And for us to find ourselves in this quagmire tells a lot about us and shows where we are drifting to as a nation. Instead of growing up, we are becoming either stunted or we are just marking time, which is bad for us as a nation, because nations are going forward, progressing, we are becoming more serious in the way they look at issues.
Admittedly, Robert Kujo said though most of the health facilities lack beds, no hospital has to turn away patients who are rushed there for medical care. According to him, the facility should be able to admit the patient, provide medical care before any further referral is made.
Except the fact that there are gaps when it comes to issues of equipment and logistics in general that are supposed to be at the various hospitals facilities to work with. But this very incident, I don't think it's not about the fact that there are no beds, or somebody will say we don't have ambulances, we don't have this, we don't have that. It's true. You have taken it upon yourself to save human lives. So whatever it takes to save life, that is what you have to do.
Robert Kujo revealed that the position of the ministry on the no-bed syndrome is for patients to be taken care of by medical officers and not to deny them admission. These issues to them have persisted for a long time. To curb this, the ministry seeks to address health worker attitudes and expand health facilities.
We do, but let me say this. What is happening in Ghana is not about the fact that we don't have the resources or we don't have the personnel. It is the attitude of Ghanaians of today. I mean, Ghana used to be a unique nation within the Community of Nations. We could easily be identified as a unique people from other people in terms of our values, our virtues, and the way we were showing care, concern, respect, obedience, the way we were sympathetic. All these good values seem to be, going down the drain. And now it has become money. Everything, money. Everything, money. Everything, money. The government has heard about it. I think it should be given a priority attention. Because if, like I said, if 7 key hospitals don't have beds, then all hospitals don't have beds. Not that they don't have, but they don't have enough beds. So that should be a priority. That should be the number one. If the government should provide anything, I think the first thing should be the beds. Several thousands of beds and supply to other hospitals. I think that should probably do the magic.
Meanwhile, the Health Committee of Parliament.
And so, as to what exactly is going to be done to hospitals who do go against this particular caution, and wasn't clearly stated by the Ministry of Health there. But so we'll be giving you more details of what exactly happens if the hospital should go against the no-bed syndrome if a patient comes and they say there's no bed, you're going to let the patient sit and die, and you're going to rip what you sow. And so exactly what is going to be done to these hospitals if they should go against the say no to no bed syndrome and caution by the Ministry of Health. They're giving more details on that. We'll now take a look on the international front. On the international front this morning in Africa, where South Sudan's rebel leader Riek Machar has committed to the ongoing peace process that seeks to organize a face-to-face meeting with President Salva Kiir.
Following a meeting with veteran Kenyan politician Raila Odinga, Machar tweeted saying that something will change and emphasizing that he has been advocating for this peaceful resolution of the conflict. The Regional Intergovernmental Authority on Development has proposed that the meeting happens before the African Union Summit on July 1st in Mauritania. Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir has offered to host the meeting. The South Sudanese government, which had earlier indicated Kiir's willingness to participate in the meeting, also reaffirmed its position through Information Minister and government spokesman Michael Makuei. Odinga, who recently made peace with Kenya President Uhuru Kenyatta, has emerged as likely mediator for the South Sudan conflict, following several failed attempts to strike a deal between the government and the rebels by Intergovernmental Authority on Development. Another round of talks has been called for June 16th to be held in Addis Ababa.
Ethiopia's Prime Minister has held bilateral talks with his Egyptian counterpart, securing the release of Ethiopian prisoners held in the North African nation.
Abiy Ahmed, who is in Egypt for a 2-day state visit, held a meeting with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and the two leaders agreed to elevate their country's relationship to a strategic level of mutual trust, cooperation and support. The chief of staff in the office of the Ethiopian Prime Minister, Fitum Ariga, said that the two leaders also reiterated their commitment to set up a joint fund for infrastructure development. In the spirit of brotherhood, the two affirmed their commitment to also set up a joint fund for energy. Egypt also freed all Ethiopian prisoners during the visit of the Prime Minister, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, and they will travel back to Ethiopia. Egypt has lately been concerned about the effect that an Ethiopian dam being built on the Nile River would have water flowing to its fields downstream. The two countries, together with Sudan, recently agreed to create a committee dedicated to the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam.
And so still focusing on the international front this morning, where Donald Trump has said that he and Kim Jong-un are preparing for a signing after hailing a fantastic meeting with the North Korean leader. After a working lunch included a morning of negotiations in Singapore, the US president said a lot of progress had been made as they tried to solve the Korean Peninsula standoff. Asked about the discussion, he said, "A really fantastic meeting, a lot of progress, better than anybody could have expected." Top of the line coming from US President Donald Trump, as he goes on to say that we are going right now for a signing of some document. We'll be giving more details on that, where before the launch he hailed his excellent relationship with Mr. Kim and predicted the pair will solve the Korean Peninsula standoff after their historic meeting. The US president said his one-on-one meeting with the North Korean leader, which lasted around 40 minutes, was very good and predicted tremendous success. The comment came after the two leaders shared a 12-second handshake as they met for the first time in front of a dozen American and North Korean flags. Mr. Trump patted Kim on the arm and shared some words before the pair turned and posed for the cameras in Singapore. The body language was surprisingly warm, with the pair at times smiling and laughing as they walked along a colonnade towards their meeting. Mr. Kim greeted his American counterpart with the words, "Nice to meet you, Mr. President." And so we give you more details during a subsequent news bulletin as to how the meeting between US President and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has gone so far, the first of a kind between two sitting presidents of these two great nations. And that's all for the morning news here on GNTV with me, Bryce and Akwasi Yamenin. We've been live from our studios, number 10 and Bus Street here in a slum down across the capital of Ghana in West Africa. Stay tuned for more details and for more good, well-structured quality programs here on GNTV, live in Ghana and live in the UK. Have a good morning.